Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And Dynamite tonight, I thought it was a good show, in my opinion. Really enjoyed Dynamite tonight. And on tonight's Dynamite, we had Hangman Page versus Max Caster of The Acclaimed. We had the Jurassic Express versus Bear Country. We had the TNT Championship on the line, where Darby Allen ended up defending the title against J.D. Drake. We had also Tay Conti versus the Bunny, a.k.a. Allin. And in the main event, we had a trios match. We had the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega versus the Bucks, the Young Bucks, and Jon Moxley. Overall, very good Dynamite it was tonight. But I did catch last week's Dynamite, watched it this morning, and I gotta say, last week's show, I thought it was a decent show. We had Christian Cage making his AEW in-ring debut against Frankie Kazarian, which was a very good match. It was a very entertaining match between Christian and Frank Kazarian, which Christian ended up picking up the win. We had Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall, which went to a no contest. Arn Anderson was a special guest referee of that match. So the match ended in a no contest. We had this new stable with QT Marshall and Nick Comoroto and Anthony Ogogo, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, where they were beating up on Dustin Rhodes. They ended up busting Dustin Rhodes open. So we saw that last week. So yeah, another stable that AEW has. So we had Moxley versus Cesaro Bononi, which Moxley ended up picking up the win. And we also saw last week the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle ended up brawling backstage, where the Pinnacle was in the Inner Circle's dressing room, and MJF ended up introducing the Pinnacle's own personal stylist. So MJF then opened up the door, and we had the Inner Circle there. So MJF ended up saying, "Oh, they gotta go." So he went to leave, and Hager ended up blocking the exit, and that's when the brawl ensued between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. Guevara ended up taking out Shawn Spears, and there was a point where Jericho ended up throwing MJF into the vending machine door, which was all glass. So MJF ended up breaking the glass. So Jericho was like, "This is our dressing room, bitch." So then Jericho had MJF hauled out of the other dressing room. Jericho then took down the sign of the Pinnacle and put up the Inner Circle's sign outside of their dressing room. So the Inner Circle took back what was theirs. Having MJF and his group of guys all take over their dressing room, the Inner Circle's dressing room. And we saw Rey Fenix, Penta, and Laredo Kid versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, which was a very good match from last week, where Omega and the Good Brothers ended up picking up the win. We also saw Nyla Rose and the Bunny, a.k.a. Allin, versus Tyconti and Hikaru Shida, which was a solid women's match. We had the Bunny and Nyla Rose picking up the win. And so this led to the match that we saw on Dynamite tonight, where it was the Bunny versus Tyconti. And the main event of last week's Dynamite, we had Miro Kip Sabian versus Chucky T and Orange Cassidy in that Arcade Anarchy match, which I thought was fun. I mean, they just had, arcade games out there, probably arcade games that, didn't work anymore, so they were just being destroyed. And part of that match, we had Trent coming back. Trent was out with the injury. So he ended up showing up. And, his mom was in the van. So that was that. We had Chucky T and Orange Cassidy win the match. But that was what happened on Dynamite last week. Just wanted to throw that out since I didn't review Dynamite last week. So just wanted to get that out. So now let's start the review for Dynamite tonight. So Dynamite kicked off tonight with Hangman and Page versus Max Caster of The Acclaimed. So in this match, the number one ranking for AEW was up for grabs in this match. Whoever won this match will be number one in the rankings. So we had Hangman and Page come out first. And then we had Max Caster come out along with Anthony Bowens, The Acclaimed. And Max Caster was doing his rapping. He was taking shots at that moment where the president, where Joe Biden ended up slipping off the stairs. So Max Caster ended up putting that in his rap, which I thought was funny. So the match got underway with Page ended up taking down Anthony Bowens, and then he went to work on Max Caster. Page ducked the clothesline from Caster, and he ended up hitting the fallaway slam and a suplex. Page was sent into the corner by Max Caster, and he ended up hitting a big boot. And we had Anthony Bowens and Hangman and Page drawn on the outside. Page ended up getting back into the ring, and Max Caster ended up hitting a low drop kick on Page. He was stomping away on Hangman and Page. Page ended up turning around, and he ended up sending Max Caster out to the floor and did a splash onto Caster. Page was shown trying to send Max Caster into the barricade, but Max Caster ended up reversing it, whipping Page into the barricade. So Bowens was still continuing to taunt Hangman and Page, and the boombox was nearby. So Anthony Bowens ended up delivering another distraction, and Max Caster ended up yanking Hangman and Page into the ring post. So Bowens then ended up sending Page into the barricade because the referee was distracted by Max Caster. Max Caster was distracting the referee, which led to Bowens, sending Hangman and Page into the barricade and then into the ring. So at the end of the match, Hangman and Page ended up picking up the win, where we had Hangman and Page delivering the buckshot lariat to Max Caster. So Hangman and Page ended up winning the match. But this was a very good match. I really enjoyed this match here with Page and Caster. It was enjoyable. So, there you go. Page ended up winning. So then we had Tony Schiavone. He was in the ring. Tony Schiavone ended up introducing the Death Triangle. Penta El Zero Miedo, Rey Fenix, and Pac. So Tony Schiavone ended up reminding everyone that the Death Triangle have a tag title shot because they won the Casino Tag Battle Royal. So Tony Schiavone ended up saying that will take place next week on Dynamite. So Orange Cassidy ended up coming out. His music ended up hitting. Orange Cassidy, Chris Statlander, who returned last week on Dynamite, which I forgot to mention. Chris Statlander, the Alien, ends up returning. And also, Chucky T and Trent came out. So Orange Cassidy ended up saying that it's nice to see all three of them in the ring again. So on the screen, we saw, back in February of last year and in May, when Pac, Phoenix, and Penta end up attacking the Best Friends. Yeah, we all remember that. So Chucky T ended up saying that it's been a while, but they still remember. They still remember when the Death Triangle ended up beating the hell out of them. So Pac ended up saying that he gets why the Best Friends are here. And clearly, they see the writing on the wall. Pac ended up saying that they want a shot at the next World Tag Team titles. So Pac ended up telling the Best Friends that they got a lot of work to do and that they aren't worthy. So then Trent got on the mic. Trent ended up saying that he knows they got to work their way up and that he's been out of action. But they have more wins. The Best Friends have more wins than any tag team in the company. So Trent went on to say that he just wanted to let them know that the boys are back in town. And they got an alien with them too. Of course, Chris Statlander. So that was how the segment ended. So, but this is a pretty decent segment here. So then we had the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle ended up making their way out to the ring. Jericho got on the mic, and he ended up saying that they got a wake-up call after getting beat up by the Pinnacle. Jericho then apologized for letting people down. He ended up saying that he may not be smart at everything, and that he's smart with pro wrestling. Jericho went on to say that he wanted to bring MJF into keep him under his thumb. So Jericho kept referring to MJF as my jerk-off friend. That was hilarious when he said that. So Jericho ended up saying that he knew that he would turn eventually. He knew that MJF would turn eventually. But they didn't think he'd be a step ahead of them. So Jericho ended up joking about giving MJF, swirly last week, which I forgot to mention. There was a point where the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle were brawling. At one point, Jericho ended up putting MJF's face in the toilet, and Jericho ended up giving MJF a swirly, which that was funny last week on Dynamite. So Jericho was just roasting MJF, mentioned about the swirly he gave him last week. He ended up saying that he can't wait for the swirly chant when MJF ends up making his way out. So Jericho ended up talking about MJF wanting everything right now and that he doesn't want to wait. Jericho went on to say that he can't be the greatest of all time right off the bat. He ended up saying that he's got to start smaller and be better than Peter Avalon or Michael Nakazawa or even his Scarf. So Jericho ended up telling MJF that he's not as good as he thinks he is, and that he'd go back to check his phone after every match or promo to see what people thought. Jericho called MJF a mark and says maybe that phrase should be called a max. So Jericho ended up saying that MJF will never be better than him and has surrounded himself with sour men. So Jericho is just roasting MJF here. So Jericho then moved on, and he ended up calling Tully Blanchard a third string four horseman. He ended up saying that FTR is one of the best, but he can't tell which is which. So then Jericho moved on to Shawn Spears, and I'm saying that Spears has great upside and that he's never seen it. He ended up saying that he's just seen Shawn Spears' name show up on his phone when he was fired from the Fed years ago. When Jericho, of course, was mentioning when Spears was fired from WWE, when he was known, of course, as 10 Ty Dillinger. Yeah, we all know how WWE messed that up with Shawn Spears when he was Ty Dillinger. So then Jericho moved on to Wardlow. He ended up saying that Wardlow has no brains. So Jericho ended up saying that he knows the Pinnacle is a good group, but if they want blood or violence, they got it. So Jericho then announced a match, and he ended up saying that on May 5th, it will be the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle in a blood and guts match. So that was how the other segment ended, but this was a very good segment here. I really enjoyed what Jericho had to say. I am looking forward to this blood and guts match on May 5th, on the May 5th edition of Dynamite. Pinnacle versus Inner Circle. It's going to be an awesome match. Awesome match here for blood and guts. The blood and guts match. I am looking forward to it. And then we went backstage. Dasha was talking with Christian Cage and his match against Frankie Kazarian last week. Christian ended up saying to Dasha that it was the culmination of taking back what was taken from him 7 years ago. Christian ended up saying that Frankie Kazarian is a great wrestler, but he makes his opponent level up. So Taz then approached Christian Cage. So Taz ended up talking with Christian. Taz ended up telling him that 7 years is a long time, and that he has a bunch of guys who can make him even better. So Taz ended up offering Christian to join Team Taz. And he ended up saying that they can make each other better. So Christian ended up going to talk, but Taz ended up telling Christian to think it over and get back to him. So that was that. But Christian Cage and Team Taz, maybe a possibility. I mean, there's cracks in Team Taz, with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, bickering back and forth. I don't know. In my mind, I think that Team Taz is going to kick out Brian Cage because Brian Cage, after him and Ricky Starks had that match, had that street fight with Sting and Darby Allen, where Brian Cage ended up putting over Sting. I think, that they're going to kick out Brian Cage, and Brian Cage, or Christian Cage, is going to replace Brian Cage in Team Taz. But maybe wrong on that. That's my prediction. So we'll see if that happens, if AEW decides to do that. But that's my prediction. So then we had the Jurassic Express versus Bear Country, and they were promoting this as a Godzilla versus Kong. They just did it to promote the film, where Jurassic Express is Godzilla, Bear Country is Kong. Just to promote the new Godzilla vs. Kong film, which I did see today. And there will be a movie review of Godzilla vs. Kong coming up on Friday in place of the SmackDown review, which I won't be doing a SmackDown review this Friday. So that'll be the next video, my movie review of Godzilla vs. Kong. So, but like I said, they were promoting this for the film. And I gotta say, this was a decent match, in my opinion. Bear Country got booed out to the floor. Jungle Boy ended up hitting a couple of suicide dives. And Luchasaurus ended up stepping up and he flipped down on both guys in Bear Country. So Bear Country was finding some momentum as Jungle Boy ended up getting thrown around the ring. But Jurassic Express ended up winning the match where Luchasaurus ended up delivering a choke slam on Boulder. Did a standing moonsault. Went for the cover. And there you go. Jurassic Express ended up winning the match. But overall, it was a decent match. Then we went to the Nightmare Factory training facility. QT Marshall was talking to Cody Rhodes about their friendship and how he's always done the work for Cody. So QT was surrounded by Anthony Ogogo, Nick Comoroto, and Aaron Solo. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But QT was talking about Cody not cutting it in the other company when Cody was in WWE, and also talked about Cody going to the Indies, where Cody ended up surrounding himself around vanilla midgets. So Anthony Ogogo ended up saying that he's a mainstream name in the UK. But, he's in America, and all the silly Yanks will learn the hard way. So QT Marshall ended up saying that this is his Nightmare Factory. So then we saw Nick Comoroto end up throwing blue paint over the Nightmare Family logo that was shown on the wall. And that was that. This little new stable from QT Marshall from what we saw last week. So then we saw Tony Schiavone. He was on the stage and he ended up introducing Sting. Sting ended up heading out to the stage. Jake Roberts ended up interrupting. And Jake Roberts ended up saying that every week Sting comes out, gets interrupted, and he doesn't have anything to say. So Jake was like, oh, where is Darby Allen at? So then Lance Archer comes out, grabs the mic. Archer ended up saying that he's tired of it all and that he's not going to get a match and then just go away. Archer ended up saying that he should be in the main event. Archer ended up saying that this is his time and that he should be the one talking with Tony Schiavone. So Sting ripped the mic out of Lance Archer's hands. Sting ended up saying that he has something to say. Sting ended up saying that he totally agrees that Lance Archer is a main event guy and that he shouldn't leave. Sting ended up saying that he thinks Jake Roberts needs to help Lance Archer channel that energy. Sting ended up saying that Archer has got it in him and that Archer just needs to make it happen. So we saw, of course, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. They were up in the stands looking on, and they were just laughing. But that was how the other segment ended. But it looks like, we're going to get, a Sting Lance Archer match, which, after this, Lance Archer should be in the main event because I think Lance Archer looks like the guy who should be in a main event match. I mean, look how he works in the ring. He is awesome in the ring. I think the guy should deserve to main event a Dynamite or main event one of their pay-per-views. When you look at Lance Archer, you see a main event guy in him. But overall, this was a pretty decent segment here. So we went to Team Taz. Taz ended up saying that they need to get on the same page and that he wants Ricky Starks to stop instigating on Brian Cage. Taz ended up saying that they have a chance at Christian Cage and they need to be working together. So Stark ended up saying that he absolutely understands because Ricky Starks was going to say something once again about Brian Cage, and that's when Taz ended up stopping him. So that was that. And then we had Darby Allin versus JD Drake for the TNT Championship. Darby Allin came out along with Sting. JD Drake came out along with Ryan Nemeth and Cesar Bononi. This was a pretty good match here. We had JD Drake start off the match. He was getting in some shots on Darby Allin. Darby Allin ended up rolling out to the floor for a breather. Darby Allin ended up delivering a shot to JD Drake. Nemeth went up to the apron and caused a distraction. Darby Allin ended up leaping and he ended up eating a shot from JD Drake. Sting then walked up behind Ryan Nemeth with his bat, and Nemeth ended up running off. Dolph Ziggler's brother ran off. Sting ended up chasing Nemeth all the way out of the Daily's place. So JD Drake was continuing to beat up on Darby Allin. JD Drake ended up going up to the second rope. Darby Allin ended up rolling out to the floor. He got sent up to the ropes and ended up eating a shot from JD Drake. JD Drake ended up looking to go for a cannonball senton into Darby Allin, but Darby Allin ended up moving and Drake ended up hitting the barricade. At the end of the match, Darby Allin ended up winning where Darby Allin ended up biting JD Drake's finger. He ended up doing the Avalanche Code Red and then delivered the coffin drop. And there you go. Darby Allin ended up winning the match, retaining the TNT Championship. Post-match, Darby Allin was up on the stage and he got attacked from behind by the Butcher. And we have the Hardy family end up strolling out to beat up on Darby Allin, where you had the Butcher, the Blade, and also Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Gwen. You had the Bunny out there, Allie. Allie, the Bunny, ended up running over to the commentary table, and she was just yelling on commentary. She was yelling at them to move their stuff. So the Dark Order ended up showing up, and Sting ended up running the Hardy family off. And Tyconti ended up charging at the Bunny. Tyconti ended up throwing a bunch of shots at the Bunny before their match later on. And that was that. But good match between Darby Allin and JD Drake. I'm a huge Darby Allin fan. Every time this guy has a match, I am just entertained. And Darby Allin is that good in the ring. He is that good of a wrestler, in my opinion. And then we had Alex Marvez backstage. Marvez was talking with Chris Jericho about the upcoming Blood and Guts match that we're going to see on May 5th. So Jericho ended up getting blindsided by the Pinnacle. The Pinnacle was beating him down. They dragged Jericho out to the ring. So the Pinnacle ended up beating up on Jericho. MJF was shown choking Jericho with his scarf. FTR delivered a spiked piledriver on Jericho. So backstage, we had a cameraman and Alex Marvez there. And the Inner Circle's dressing room door was nailed shut. The Pinnacle ended up nailing shut the Inner Circle's dressing room door so they couldn't get out. And so the Inner Circle was beating down the door. And you could tell while they were beating the door down, you could tell that the door was cardboard. And when they were punching through, you saw like a little bit like zigzag wood as they were punching it. So Jericho was about to get powerbombed. And then out came Mike Tyson. Yes, Mike Tyson returned to Dynamite tonight. The last time we saw Mike Tyson was in that little brawl that him and Jericho had. So the only reason why they got Mike Tyson is because they needed something to, I guess, get people to watch the show tonight because, of course, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1 was tonight, which I will check out. I will check out Night 1 of TakeOver Stand and Deliver maybe tomorrow or maybe on Friday. So that was the only reason why Mike Tyson was on the show tonight, to boost the ratings and to counter TakeOver Stand and Deliver. So Mike Tyson got into the ring and he was just throwing punches on Shawn Spears. He was just nailing those punches on Shawn Spears like crazy. So the Pinnacle then yanked Shawn Spears out of the ring. So we had the Inner Circle. We had Guevara, Hager, Santana, and Ortiz. They end up finally running out. So we had them, the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, yelling at each other. Jericho and Tyson end up coming face to face. Jericho put out his hand. Mike Tyson ended up shaking it. And they both end up hugging. And what a moment it was. It was a great moment. So the Pinnacle was throwing stuff all over the place. MJF was having a hissy fit. So Jericho ended up standing with Mike Tyson and it pointed to him and the crowd ended up cheering. So that was how the segment ended. But really loved this. Really enjoyed this whole segment here. You know, with Mike Tyson and Jericho shaking hands, and they end up hugging. Thought it made for a good moment. So, but it was very enjoyable. So then we went backstage. Tony Schiavone was interviewing Britt Baker. And Britt Baker ended up asking Tony Khan to give the people what they want and give her a shot at the AEW Women's World Championship. So Britt Baker ended up saying that she is currently 4th in the rankings and that she is at the top of the food chain in other things. She ended up saying that the system is broken, but she'll climb up the ladder and prove herself anyways. She ended up saying that she will be on Dynamite, AEW Dark Elevation, and AEW Dark to get her wins up. So that was that. And then we had the Bunny versus Tyconti. This was a solid women's match. Of course, we had the Bunny came out along with the Blade and the Butcher and Matt Hardy. Tyconti ended up coming out along with the Dark Order and -1. Yes, -1 was on Dynamite tonight. But this was a solid women's match where the match ended up starting off. The Bunny and Tay Conti end up punching each other. The Bunny ended up choking Tay Conti with her boot. Bunny ended up looking to go for a knee and got caught by Tay Conti. Conti ended up delivering a shoulder capture suplex to the Bunny, and then a pump kick in the corner, which the Bunny ended up heading out to the floor. So Tay Conti was looking to go for a kick, and she didn't get the Bunny. She ended up trying it again, but the Bunny ended up catching it, and she ended up yanking Tay Conti down to the apron. So we had the Bunny end up delivering a run shotgun drop kick, sending Tay Conti into the barricade. So Tay Conti ended up charging into the corner with a running knee. The Bunny ended up moving and delivered a big kick. And Hikaru Shida was at ringside to cheer on Tay Conti. The Bunny was looking to go for a finisher. Matt Hardy was on the apron and caused a distraction. Tay Conti ended up moving, and she ended up catching the Bunny with the Thai KO. Went for the cover, and the Bunny ended up kicking out of 2, which Tay Conti was shocked at. So the Bunny ended up delivering a cheap shot on Hikaru Shida, and she then cracked Tay Conti with the kendo stick. So there was a brawl on the outside, which distracted the referee. The Bunny ended up climbing up to the top. Hikaru Shida then took away the kendo stick, and Tay Conti ended up delivering a second rope superplex, which was a very cool looking superplex. So Tay Conti ended up hitting the DDT on the Bunny, went for the cover, and there you go. Tay Conti ended up winning the match. Overall, solid women's match. And so then on commentary, they went over what we're going to see next week on Dynamite. So next week on Dynamite, we're going to be seeing the World Tag Team titles on the line. The Young Bucks are going to be taking on Rey Fenix and Pac. That is going to be an awesome match there. We have the TNT Championship on the line. Darby Allen versus Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere match. We're going to have Anthony Ogogo, his in-ring debut. Red Velvet versus Jade Gargill. That's going to be another awesome match there. Liking this whole rivalry between Red Velvet and Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill, very impressive in the ring. And then it would be Dax Harwood versus Chris Jericho. Dax Harwood's going to have Cash Wheeler out there. Jericho with Sammy Guevara. Mike Tyson is going to be the special ringside enforcer. And all the other members of the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle are banned from ringside. So that's going to be taking place next week on Dynamite, those matches. And then we had the main event, which was a trios match where we had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson versus Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks, the AEW World Tag Team Champions. This was, in my opinion, the best match of the night. This was a very good, entertaining match here. Of course, Don Callis was on commentary during the match. Omega and Matt Jackson got the match started. There was lots of shoving by them. There was a point where Matt Jackson was refusing to hit Kenny Omega. So Nick Jackson ended up coming in, started jawing with Kenny Omega. Omega ended up doing a shoulder tackle to Nick Jackson. Nick ended up dodging Omega and ended up hitting a Hurricanrana. Omega was out to the floor. Doc Gallows end up coming in, end up eating drop kicks. Moxley end up knocking him out to the floor. So Moxley and the Bucks delivered a trio of dives to the outside, which was cool. So at the end of the match, we had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers end up winning the match, where we had Nick telling him to come on, where Nick was telling Matt to come on and do something to Omega, but Matt couldn't do it. So Moxley ended up coming in, and he was like, "You got him." So Matt was, of course, refusing to hit Omega. So Moxley ended up taking himself in. Matt is like, "Come on, man." So Moxley ended up pushing him away. Moxley delivered the paradigm shift to Omega. So Moxley ended up getting in Nick Jackson's face. And he ended up hitting another paradigm shift to Omega. And Moxley then applied the rear naked choke. So Moxley ended up going for a third paradigm shift, but the Young Bucks end up super kicking Moxley. So Eddie Kingston ended up trying to run out. Eddie Kingston got stopped by Anderson and Gallows. Anderson and Gallows ended up delivering the Magic Killer to Kingston on the ramp. So Gallows and Anderson came back into the ring. Gallows and Anderson end up delivering the Magic Killer on Moxley. They end up dragging Kenny Omega over to Moxley. Went for the cover. And there you go. Omega and the Good Brothers end up winning the match. Post-match, the Bucks were looking very conflicted. Don Callis ended up helping Kenny Omega up. So Gallows and Anderson ended up picking up Moxley. Kenny Omega and Don Callis, they wanted the Bucks to drop Moxley. So they refused to put Moxley down, but they thought about it. They're like, "Oh, let's do it." And then the Bucks end up delivering a double super kick to Moxley, and the Bucks end up hugging it out with Omega, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson. And that was how Dynamite went off the air tonight. But the Bucks end up selling out, and with them doing this, in my head, I'm like, I knew it was going to happen. I knew there was something that was going to happen where the Bucks were going to, go with Omega and the Good Brothers. So looks like the Bullet Club is back, because the Bucks and Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers end up hugging it out. So the Bucks end up turning heel. But this was an awesome ending and an awesome match, awesome trios match. It was the best match of the night, in my opinion. But like I said, I knew this was going to possibly happen with the Bucks, just hugging with Kenny Omega, saying, "Oh, we're sorry." I knew it was coming. So I knew that something was going to come up or go down with the Bucks joining Omega and the Good Brothers. But overall, it was a good Dynamite tonight. Very enjoyable show. But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, which will be my movie review of Godzilla vs. Kong. That will be coming up on Friday. So until then, I'll see you all later.